So recently there's been a new point of contention in the Destiny community. I know, right? Destiny community, point of contention. What's new? But this week's new thing is basically the double slug quick swapping thing. And the reason this has come to light and pretty prevalent right now is because there was a recent interview that Fallout did with some Bungie sandbox people. And they were basically asked, what are your thoughts on the quick swap glitch commonly used with double slugs? And the response was something along the lines of, we were okay with it before because quick draw was a thing that had 100% uptime anyway, but now that we've touched quick draw, we probably need to touch on this too. So they're basically saying that, like, okay, they were kind of fine with this quick swapping thing because of quick draw, but the only problem is people didn't use quick draw for the way people use the quick swapping thing. Like, either these people answering were unaware of what was being meant by the question, or they philosophically just have nothing wrong with it, or they think people are using quick draw on these bosses and stuff. Like, people aren't doing that. I think what the question was referring to was the animation canceling by using the sprint to quickly get out of the animation so you can get to shooting. And people have set up macros and have gotten good. You know, I'll admit it, like, there are people that have gotten good at this, but my main point of contention here is that on PC, and I don't know about consoles, I imagine you can, now that you can allow keyboard on a lot of these consoles nowadays, is you can set up a macro to do this. So that's going to be the topic of this video. I'm going to be talking about, like, what quick swapping and the double slug meta and, like, my thoughts on what Bungie should do. So I think it's very important we look at the quick swapping as two sorts of quick swapping. So there's one quick swapping where you're playing through all the animations, and then there's another quick swapping where you're using the sprint key to ignore the animations. And that's the thing that most people are talking about as, like, quick swapping. And I think that's also why there's a big point of contention in the community, is that a lot of people, when you say quick swap, they don't really necessarily know which one you mean. I think that's sort of a big part of this, is that people see their own way, like quick swapping in, like, oh, I'm just swapping weapons very quickly, as fast as the game will let me. Sure. But then there's also the quick swapping where it's like, fast as the game will let me, but also ignoring the animations. So there's those 2 points of view here. So I think I'm going to tackle the first one where we talk about just regular quick swapping. So the reason I want to talk about the regular quick swapping first is because this is the more likely thing to come out of Bungie saying that, like, they're going to look at the quick swapping, potentially. So it would make me believe that they're going to do something where you have to go through animations of swapping weapons. Like, they're going to do something like that. So within that perimeter, I want to talk about Dexterity mods and the Quick Charge mod. Quick Charge is a Charge with Light mod that if you have another arc mod equipped, it gives you faster fusion shotgun and something else. I think sidearm and SMG maybe. Swap speeds. And I did some tests where I tested a base version, no mods, no dexterity, no quick charge, 1 dexterity, and then 2 dexterity mods, and then quick charge times 2 dexterity. Now, these videos, these aren't using macros or anything, so there is a little bit of human error, but generally speaking, I think quick charge and 2 times dexterity actually does stack. I believe before quick charge had been bugged for a while, so I think currently it works, where you're actually getting a swap speed benefit from it. Because in the 2 tests I'm going to show, these actually had pretty significant differences from not having any mods and then having just 1 dexterity mod. Now, like I said, there's going to be human error in this video, but you can see that the quick charge and 2 times dexterity goes much quicker than nothing. And that's the main thing here, is that, like, the quick charge and 2 times dexterity is definitely doing something. So the question is that from dexterity? Is it from quick charge? And I think it is all of it, because quick charge and 2 times dexterity, both times, was faster than just 2 times dexterity. And significantly faster. Not, you know, it's not like within a couple seconds or frames or whatever. It's significantly faster. So that's what led me to believe that quick charge is now functional again. And I think this is the first part where Bungie should look at the quick swapping sort of playstyle and sort of encourage people to actually make builds. Because a lot of Destiny does not encourage build crafting. And sadly, that's just true. Like, putting a global reach is not a build, guys. Like, there's very little build crafting incentivized in Destiny. And I think if Bungie were to look at this. Like, this is a community-driven sort of playstyle that people enjoy doing. I think Bungie could look at this and use this opportunity to actually encourage people to use stuff like Quick Charge and Dexterity. Now, the thing about Dexterity is it goes on the arms, where the anti-champion mods would be going. So in those middle two perks columns. Columns. So this is where builds actually come into question, where it's like, oh, do I want to run two anti-champion mods, or do I want to run 2 Dexterity? What do I want to do? You know, in raids, there's not really champion mods during boss fights and stuff like that, so, I mean, that's a pretty obvious solution. But then Quick Charge, what I'm saying is, like, right now, they're currently not, like, they're not super expensive to run these mods or anything, so it's not like this high investment ceiling, so it's a low barrier to entry, but what I'm saying is, like, it's something, you know, it's the introduction of, like, oh man, if you run these mods, you can do this one playstyle that you couldn't do without running these mods. So I think what Bungie should do as far as the actual swap speeds is lower the base swap speed of some shotguns, but then increase the benefit of stuff like Quick Charge and Dexterity. Maybe make it to where Dexterity is probably the highest, because maybe when you have 2 times Dexterity, it's like the highest, so you're having to make that choice of, like, putting these 2 mods in your arm, because that's expensive. That's 6 energy to have 2 times Dexterity. Maybe they could buff Dexterity swapping on shotguns, but then they're also forcing you to go down that build path of your armor. And then Quick Charge, you know, they could always buff that and then make it more expensive or something like that. I mean, I think it's personally fine where it is, but I think the next topic for this is probably reserves. So starting of a baseline of reserves, Heritage, you can get 17 rounds, and first in, last out, you can get 16 rounds in total. So that's including the magazine filled and then reserves. That's without any of the reserve mods on your chest piece. But when you have the chest piece on, Heritage goes up to 21, and first in, last out goes up to 20. So you get 2 ammo per reserve mods, because double reserves gives you 4, so i.e. you have 2 mods, that means you get 2 ammo per mod. Okay, so now that we've got that established, I think this is probably the next route that Bungie could take that would allow the preservation of the actual building, like this playstyle, the build into this playstyle. They could buff reserve mods, but then reduce base reserves. And the reason I say this is because you're typically going to be running damage resist mods, because these are unique to the armor piece chest slots, like the middle slots on the armor pieces on the chest piece. So giving up damage resist allows you to have more ammo reserves, which is basically more damage. So you're basically trading damage resist for bonus damage. And I think that's a very interesting gameplay choice, and I think that's very intelligent. You know, you don't want the tanky character to also deal the maximum damage. That just doesn't make sense, because then they have best of both worlds sort of philosophy. I think this would probably be the second thing that Bungie should look at, is like reserves and then base swap speeds. I think all this stuff in the game is already there. I think the systems are already in place. They just need to fine-tune some things and make it to where we're actually building for a certain playstyle. This is a perfect opportunity for Bungie to take advantage of, like, you know, we see that the community likes this playstyle, so we're going to allow you to do that for a little more cost of a build. I think that's a perfectly fair stance to take, and this is what I would like to see from Bungie's, like, nerfs or buffs or balancing teams or whatever you want to call them. Now onto the second topic of the animation canceling with the sprint key. I think realistically what Bungie is going to do is do something where you have to play out the animation of this. That's just what I think they're going to do. They've already said that they're going to, like, look into it. Now, they could just never touch this. Like, I don't know, they could just re-examine this based on, like, community feedback and be like, you know, y'all are fine with it, you gotta do this or whatever. It's like, you're only doing it on these select bosses. But I think the problem that Bungie foresees is that this is just such a strong combo with almost no cost of doing it, that they're going to sort of tune it down a little bit, and that's what I feel like they're gonna do. So I feel like they're going to make it to where you cannot animation cancel with guns anymore. That's just what I'm saying. I'm not like asking for that or anything. That's just what I think they're gonna do based on, like, their track record of how they do things like this. Like with the Izanagi's reload stuff, like, they make you go through the animation of that. Now, this also could just be a problem where they can't actually fix this very easily. Like, maybe they can't stop you from doing the animation with sprint. Maybe that's going to lead to, like, really bad, like, sprint gameplay or something. I don't really know. But I want people to understand that, like, I understand what people are saying about, like, oh, that's glitching or whatever. It's an unintended. You know, yes and no, I would say. Because it's, like, a lot of games sort of allow this sort of animation canceling. And a lot of people consider this, like, a skill, I guess, in games. Is, like, being able to time things perfectly well. I think to an extent they could do the animation thing, and you could still have a sort of skill gap in, like, okay, I have this many seconds to swap and then shoot another shot or whatever. I think the skill is, like, holding aim and then swapping weapon, shoot, swap, hold it while holding aim, and it automatically goes into zoom, and just getting that pace down, getting, like, a really good swap speed pace down is, like, a skill in Destiny. So, those are basically my thoughts. If you like this video, thumbs up is appreciated. If you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button. I'm trying something new with this video. It's just kind of free flow. There were some, like, gaffes here and there, and, like, I'm not really editing the voice on this much. I just wanted to kind of see how this video goes, and I'll see how I do more frequently. So, thanks for watching, and as always, have a good day.